Hey, in this video, I want to go over my horror movie collection. Behind me is Blu-rays and a few 4Ks. I won't go over DVDs in this video, but I'm just gonna go through them. I'm gonna bring the camera up to the shelf, pull them out one by one, make a few brief comments about each one. I am a small YouTube channel just getting started. This will be a little longer video, I think, so feel free to just put it on in the background if you want. Click the thumbs up if you want. Subscribe if you want. That would be great and help me out a lot, but don't feel obligated. Anyways, let's get into it. Pee-wee's gonna be in the way. Let's get him out of the way. Okay, starting off with a couple of box sets that I had in my bedroom instead of on the shelf here with the rest. This is the Arrow Video box set. What was this called? Enter the Video Store, Empire of Screams, right? It's Empire Films that later became, is it Charles Band? Later became Full Moon. Cool box set. Not all of it's horror. There's sci-fi in here as well. I got this because, I got it because it was cool and I got it for super cheap. But Dolls was out of print. There was a Scream Factory release of Dolls and it was like, $100 or something crazy. And I got this essentially for free, so it was kind of a no-brainer. Dungeon Master, I've never seen that one. Cellar Dweller, I've heard about. Having trouble getting this out. I've heard about this. I think this is the one where it's like a comic book artist and the creature she's drawing comes to life, if I remember right. Arena, this is sci-fi. I don't know too much about this. I've never seen it. And then finally, this was cool too. Really, really happy to track this down. Haven't seen it yet. Stuart Gordon. I think this might have been one of his first movies about mech robots. Giant robot battles. Little man in there driving it. And then there's a cool little book it came with. Pretty cool box set. And then one other one to show you, and I'll take the time here before we get into the shelf, a trigger warning, I suppose. You're gonna notice a lot of these are still sealed, and there's a bunch I haven't watched yet. I know that probably bothers some people. I guess in my defense, I will watch them. I got these box sets and the movies behind me essentially for free. And I talk about how I did that in a video I'll link in the description. But, I'm going to watch them. Haven't watched them all. A lot of them are upgrades too. Like I had them on DVD and maybe ripped them to the Plex server. So I've seen them before, but haven't opened the Blu-ray or 4K, whichever it is. Friday the 13th Scream Factory box set. Everyone knows about this one. Everyone's seen it. So again, I've only seen the first 3. I know 4 is kind of heralded as the best one, so I need to see that. I'm excited to watch it. But this has, let's see, 1 through 8, then Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X, Freddy vs. Jason, the Friday the 13th remake from the early 2000s. That was a Platinum Dune. And then just special features and probably the Return to Crystal Lake documentary, I assume. And then there's a little booklet. It's going to be too hard to get out. But anyway, cool art on the box. Good display piece and pretty sweet box set. All right, let's get to the shelves. Right off the bat, we have some Creepshow Season 2, Season 3, and Season 4. I also have one. I'm watching it right now. It's upstairs. This is a Shudder, the horror streaming service. They made an episodic horror series pretty similar to Tales from the Crypt, for those of you that remember that. It's pretty cool. The one I've watched maybe 6 episodes. I like it. It's cool. Look forward to going through the rest. Red Riding. I bought this. I got it at a thrift store, and I didn't know anything about it except for I kind of assumed that maybe it's a play on Red Riding Hood, and maybe there's werewolves in it, which is my favorite horror genre, so subgenre, I suppose. I think it's a British miniseries. I think Sean Bean's in it. I don't know. I haven't watched it yet. It could be cool. We'll see. To be determined. Halloween 2018 remake. I really like this. I thought this was great. And then I'm following it up here with the trilogy, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. Halloween Kills is pretty cool. Halloween Ends is all right too. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I thought it was all right, but by far my favorite is the 2018 remake. I thought that was great. A couple of trailer compilations from Garage House Pictures. We got Trailer Trauma 2 Drive-In Monsterama and 80s Trailer Trauma 3 Horror-thon. I really like trailer compilations. I think I've only watched one of these, and it must have been this one. And it was more like 70s movies, which is not, there's some cool stuff, but 80s is my go-to. So I'm gonna have to pop these in again and rewatch them. But I'm pretty sure I've watched this one, and the movies were just a little too old to really be what I wanted them to be, if that makes sense. Critters box set. Disclaimer, I have only seen Critters 1, although as a kid I saw it a million times. I loved it. Need to watch the rest. Is it 4 that has Leo DiCaprio's first on-screen appearance, I think? I don't know anything about 3. I know 2 is supposed to be pretty cool as well. Looking forward to watching those. I love Stephen King, although his film adaptations are pretty hit and miss. I've never seen this. Christopher Walken. Haven't seen it yet. Motel Hell. This is a great horror classic. Super, pretty tongue-in-cheek. Super fun, super weird. Here's this is a great scene. There's a chainsaw fight, and a guy wears a pig head in it. The Burning. I remember finding this. I found this at a garage sale for $1. Even had the slip, which I was pretty happy with, although you can see it's pretty beat up. 80s summer camp slasher that predates, I believe, Friday the 13th. I don't think Friday the 13th ripped this off. I don't think they were aware of each other, but when you watch this, you will think that. You probably think that this ripped off Friday the 13th, and it didn't. It came before it. Slither, this was another thrift store find. I love this movie. This is such a great, a more modern throwback to the 80s style. Tongue-in-cheek. There's comedy in it. It's weird. Lots of great practical effects. Kind of a zombie movie, kind of a body horror movie. It's really cool. James Gunn. If you haven't seen this, you got to check it out. I think this is great. The Blob, 80s remake. Kevin Dillon, Frank Darabont, I think, wrote this. Yeah, screenplay by. He's amazing. Great effects in this. A super fun movie. Highly recommend The Blob, the 80s remake, if you have not seen it. I'm sure most of you have. Nightbreed, this is a Clive Barker, super weird, but cool. Lots of cool makeup. You can see some of the creatures or that are in this movie. I've heard this got butchered in editing from production notes or something like that. This says director's cut, and this is good. I like this movie. However, I've heard rumblings of there's something called the Cabal cut, which is maybe more what Clive Barker intended, that people really like or is supposed to be cool. I don't know. Tell me in the comments if you know more about it. I don't. Pet Sematary 2, good old Edward Furlong in his heyday. As a teenager, this was a really cool movie. I've watched it again recently, and it's cool. It's not as cool as I remember it being, but not mad at it. My Bloody Valentine, a slasher movie based on a holiday. Surprise, surprise. This is from the 80s. They did remake this in the 2000s, I want to say. I have the 3D version. I have seen that, and that's fun with the 3D. This I need to watch. Maybe this Valentine's Day I will. Okay, sorry. Another one I know nothing about other than it's Wes Craven. Deadly Blessing. Looks like maybe some Amish cult stuff. I honestly have no idea. Road Games. Jamie Lee Curtis. Another one I'm sorry to say I don't know much about. I haven't watched it yet. I want to say this is an Aussie movie, which gets me a little bit excited, but I'm not 100% sure. Creepshow, the 80s horror anthology. Stephen King, George A. Romero. This is classic. From when I was a kid, I thought it was scary. It's cool. I like it. I think there's 4 stories in this. Here's another one. Sorry, I don't know anything about it. Battle Beyond the Stars. I guess this isn't horror either, is it? It's sci-fi. Steelbook. Looks like it could be cool. It's 80s. Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. I remember this show on Sundays when I was a kid growing up, and it was popular enough they made a movie. Another horror anthology. I like it. I think Steve Buscemi, a young Steve Buscemi, is in the first part of the anthology, and Christian Slater too. They play roommates. It's a cool one. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, with Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger. It's weird. I like it. I think it's cool. It's nothing like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, though. All right, a werewolf movie. I love it just for that reason alone. Corey Haim, young Corey Haim, Gary Busey's in this. It's a Stephen King story. I like this one a lot. I liked it as a kid. I like it now to this day. Night of the Comet. This is a fun one. It just breathes 80s. I love the arcade in this. It's kind of a zombie movie, apocalyptic pseudo zombie movie. It's a fun one. Scanners 2 and 3. Yeah, I've never seen them. I love David Cronenberg's Scanners. I don't think he did either of these. I still need to check them out. and I will. God, you guys are going to hate me. I haven't seen either of these either. The Dungeon Master and Eliminators double feature. Look at this guy with the tracks for legs. I don't know. I think I'll like at least one of these. Mad Max, I'm more a Road Warrior guy, but this is a classic. This one's not a horror. It's apocalyptic though, so it's up my alley. Night of the Demons, total quintessential 80s horror movie. Linnea Quigley in the lipstick, pretty classic. I really like this movie. The Nest. This is a super cool one that I had no knowledge of until Scream Factory released this. Radioactive bugs, if I remember right. Super fun, super weird, and funny. Has humor in it. From Beyond, Stuart Gordon. This is another one that I wasn't aware of as a kid. This movie is amazing. I love the color choices, the ambiance in this movie. You have Jeffrey Combs, Barbara Crampton, Ken Foree from Dawn of the Dead. Great cast, great effects, super weird and sexual in a way too, which is fun. Pumpkinhead, Stan Winston, creature effects, one of the coolest movie monsters in my opinion. Lance Henriksen, this is a great one. Great Halloween. Great movie to watch around Halloween, is what I'm trying to say. Sleepaway Camp, another summer camp slasher from the 80s with the crazy twist ending. I like this. I'm not the hugest fan of it, but you have to watch it at least once or have it in your collection to show somebody who's never seen it. The People Under the Stairs. This is such a campy, weird movie. Not really horror, I guess. Maybe more like a thriller. It's just really weird. They would never make this movie today. But I love this movie. It's amazing. Young Ving Rhames in this one. John Carpenter, one of my favorites. Escape from New York. Again, sorry, not horror adjacent because it's John Carpenter, I guess. I love Kurt Russell as well. This is a great movie. Really fun watch. Makes you feel cozy and warm inside. Day of the Dead, George Romero, Bub the Zombie. This is a cool movie. I love George Romero and I like a lot of his movies. This is not my favorite. It's an iconic zombie movie, of course. And I do really like it, but it leaves me wanting for a little more. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I feel. Candyman, 90s slasher. It takes place in Cabrini Green, which those housing projects got torn down in Chicago. A really dark atmosphere to this. It's creepy. It's not the goriest thing in the world, which is fine. It's very atmospheric, very isolated and bleak. I like this. More John Carpenter, more Kurt Russell. The Thing, my favorite movie of all time. While this is probably technically classified as sci-fi, it's horror just as much in my mind. I love this movie. This is my favorite. Did I just say that 20 seconds ago? I don't know. It's my favorite movie. It's so good. The Rob Bottin special effects, nothing touches this. I don't know. Maybe like people growing up right now, like the practical effects just doesn't do it for them. It dates it too much, but I don't know. This ages so well. Black Christmas, another holiday slasher. Bob Clark. This was an early one too. This might have been late 70s if I remember right. It's okay. It's not my favorite, but I like it. It's good. Here's another sci-fi. So sorry. Saturn III. I don't know much about this except for it's sounded so weird. Harvey Keitel plays Android, and they dubbed over his voice, which Harvey Keitel's voice is amazing. Although for an android, his New York accent, maybe I can kind of see. But I think there's some sort of weird love triangle with the woman in this or something. I don't know. I need to watch it. Another horror anthology, Trick or Treat. This is one of my favorites. I try to watch this every Halloween. Michael Dougherty, who also did Krampus, which is also fantastic. Again, another kind of throwback similar to Slither, a more modern movie that kind of, you can tell they're fans of 80s horror, and there's humor in it. It's smart, it's fun, and it's got gore too. It's great. John Carpenter again, They Live, super classic. This is sci-fi, not horror, really. Such a great premise to this movie. The sunglasses that make you see what's really going on. The aliens and how they're controlling you subliminally. So good. Seen the first half of this movie a million times. The ending towards the middle to the end is not nearly as good. It starts so strong, but it doesn't matter. This movie's amazing. John Carpenter. Return of the Living Dead Part 2. I have seen the first 10, 15 minutes of this. When I bought this, I thought it was Return of the Living Dead. I didn't realize it was Part 2. I need to watch this. I love Return of the Living Dead. John Carpenter again, also not horror. Also Kurt Russell, Big Trouble in Little China, amazing. Super fun. There's nothing like it. It's hard to even describe this movie. It's an experience more than anything else. And this movie wouldn't get made nowadays. I don't think it's too much of a risk. How do you even put this into a genre? It's a weird one, and it's great. Charles Bronson, 10 to Midnight, kind of a procedural slasher movie. It's interesting. It's weird. I like weird, so. More John Carpenter. This one actually is horror. Prince of Darkness. This is it's slow and plodding. It's dark and ominous. There's something about this. It's not one you want to pop in all the time, but man, I just love the ensemble cast, the setting, just the brooding feeling of this movie. It's great. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Here we go. Get Mad. I haven't seen either of these. Another Scream Factory double feature, Metamorphosis and Beyond Darkness. I got to be honest, I don't know anything about either of these, but they both have great cover art, so I'll get around to them eventually. Metal Storm, The Destruction of Jared's Sin, 3D. Sci-fi, sorry, haven't watched it. I also have this on, what's it called? Video disc. Which format will I watch it on first? I don't know. This is it Wes Craven? Yeah. Serpent in the Rainbow. This is great. This is based off a book by like a Harvard botanist. It's based on a true story. Of course, there's embellishments for this movie. This movie is creepy. It's about, Haitian voodoo, zombies, and super interesting and creepy because it's so next to real life. A lot, it's based on a lot of fact about the guy's experiences. I forget his name. Dog Soldiers, werewolf movie, more contemporary werewolf movie. So I had to check it out when it came out. As Neil Marshall, I always get him and Neil Jordan mixed up. Neil Marshall, I think Irish film, Scottish, one of those. Indie film. Super cool. They took the time and love and effort on the werewolf costumes. It's great. And it's an interesting twist on a werewolf story. I like it. The Borrower. Again, this is probably sci-fi. Super cool, weird movie. I talked about this in my digitizing video. Go check that out if you want to learn how to digitize your movies. Yeah. Kind of a body snatcher type movie. The Prophecy. This is a great one. This movie was ahead of its time. Native American kind of pollution creates, not the Native Americans polluting, but the theme is, the effect pollution has on nature and life from a Native American perspective, which is an interesting take. Mutant creature. Some great. I like this one. This one's super offbeat, and I like it a lot. The Gate, Gate 2, sorry. Follow up to what I consider a classic. This is good too. This is one you don't hear about too much, but it's good. In the original, the special effects are amazing, and there's a lot of them. This one I don't think has quite as many effects, but it's still a cool movie. What's his name? Tobe Hooper. Life Force, Space Vampires. This is a cool one. It's not amazing, but definitely some iconic special effects. Lake Placid. This is a first-time watch for me within the last year or two. I had never seen this. I love a good creature feature. And this one is fun. It's got the humor in it. It's almost like Roland Emmerich if he did Jaws, only less crappy than what he would do. This is a fun one. Bad Moon, another werewolf movie. I have seen this, but I always get, I think I remember Wolfen, and I get the two confused. And so every time I think about this movie, I think of Wolfen. And that's all I can say. It's a werewolf movie. Witchboard. Have not seen this. I need to see it. Got the Ouija board on there with the axe in it. I need to see this. What's his name? Larry Cohen. Return to Salem's Lot. I love the original Salem's Lot. I've heard this is not great, but it's Larry Cohen, so it's got to be interesting at the very least. They did just remake Salem's Lot. I just watched that. It was okay. Piranha 2, The Spawning. This is, I think, a Roger Corman production and directed by James Cameron. I think this is the first thing he did, and I think he had to take over because the original director got fired. I have not seen this. I, of course, have seen Joe Dante's Piranha, the original, and that's great. I've also seen the Piranha remake from the early 2000s, and that's fun, too. More John Carpenter, Vampires. What did I say? This is a guilty pleasure movie. It's not great, but it's so weird, and it's John Carpenter, so it's got great music, of course, and it looks good. Not my favorite acting. The cast is not my favorite, but it's cool. It's fun. It's a vibe. Sleepwalkers, another Stephen King adaptation. Kind of cat werewolves, werecats. A weird one and fun. And speaking of werewolves, The Howling. This is, man, it's a toss-up between An American Werewolf in London and this. I know this might be blasphemy, but I might give it to The Howling. This is such a great movie. Is it Joe? Yeah, Joe Dante. Amazing creature effects. I love the atmosphere. Great movie. Scarecrows. This one, I love the kind of subgenre of scarecrows, or like Jeepers Creepers is kind of a scarecrow movie. I have seen this, but there's so many scarecrow movies, I get them mixed up. But the cover art, come on. This is, okay, here's my first 4K I guess I've shown. Alligator. This, I really like this. I love Robert Forster. He's so good in this. It's a good cast. I think this was a TV movie, and like you couldn't get this forever. And then as I fumble with this, Scream Factory released it. I was all over it, and it's great. I love it. Check it out if you haven't. Here's another 4K kind of hiding. Just got this 2 days ago, so I haven't, shifted one movie over to get all my boutique labels organized. The Company of Wolves, a werewolf movie, I assume. I don't know anything about this, but wanted to check it out. Plunk that up there. Finishing up Scream Factory here. Another double feature, Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror. I haven't watched either of these. These are a little older, if I'm correct. And so I hesitate to watch these. I'll watch 80s stuff before and I keep putting it off. I'll get to them. Another double feature, Ghost House and Witchery. Haven't watched either of these. Again, I'm sold on the cover art, so what can you do? Oh, don't kill me, but yeah, another double feature, Bad Dreams, Visiting Hours, haven't seen either. Okay, this double feature I have most definitely seen. Terror Vision and The Video Dead. Terror Vision is amazing. The Video Dead's okay. I basically remember getting bored when the kid's in the woods, like, he's like hanging from a tree. He's like stuck. I don't remember. But Terror Vision is so good, so weird, great creatures. Dead Time Stories. Believe this is an 80s horror anthology. I have not seen this one. Ghost Ship. This is trash, I know, but it's fun trash. I think this is from it's either late 90s or early 2000s. John Carpenter and sci-fi, not horror, but Starman. Holy cow, this movie is so good. Jeff Bridges and what's her name? Karen Allen. I always get her and Margot Kidder confused for some reason. This is really good. This is so different from the rest of John Carpenter's films. I really like this one. Also, it's nostalgic because I watched it a ton. You know, HBO in the 80s was always playing it. Speaking of Johnny, Body Bags, horror anthology. This is cool. I really like, I think it's the first one where the lady's alone at the gas station or the truck stop. Another 4K, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. This one just came out not too long ago. This is one of my favorite movies. This is, in my mind, this is the epitome of camp. The Chiodo brothers, or is it Kyoto? I don't know. The clown masks, the clown costumes are amazing. Like all the props and stuff, all the love they put into it. It's such a good movie, and it's funny. It's stupid. It's amazing. One of my favorite movies. Okay, now we're getting to Arrow here. I don't have a ton of Arrow. Here's Slugs. This is an older one. I haven't watched this one yet. I think I've seen the first 20 minutes. Like, doesn't it start off a guy in a fishing boat out on a lake somehow gets killed by slugs? Or maybe I'm confusing it with something else. The Thing, again, it's my favorite. This is a Region B release. a UK release, and I just hang on to it because I think it has a few special features that aren't on the American Scream Factory release. There's definitely a different commentary, one of the commentary tracks on here. So I'm hanging on to it. Creepshow 2, another horror anthology, not by Romero. The Raft is so good. So good. Creeped me out as a kid. Swimming in lakes. Never felt the same. Now we got the House quadrilogy. These are also UK releases, but they're actually region free. I remember researching because the box set in the States was so expensive. House is amazing. Iconic in the 80s that this doesn't have the original art, but the original art, the poster for this was so amazing, and this is an amazing movie. Is it Norm from Cheers? It's kind of weird he's in it, but great effects, great story. Who is it by? It's by the Steve Miner. Yeah, he's Friday the 13th adjacent, isn't he? He's got some relation there. House 2. Not. I mean, I guess it's a sequel. Totally different though. More fantasy vibe, kind of like reminds me of like a kid's adventure movie more than anything. It's got a little horror tinge to it. Really weird one. Nothing like the first one, but still good in its own way. House 3, The Horror Show, Lance Henriksen, and the android from Blade Runner. Forget his name. Have not seen this one. Can't talk about it. Same with House 4, The Repossession. It looks like they got the original guy from House back in this. I don't know anything about this. The Stuff, more Larry Cohen. Not a perfect movie by any means, but I do love the theme of advertising and marketing, and it's a cool idea. Super cool idea. Not executed the best, but that's okay. Dead End Drive-In. I love 80s Australian movies. They're just different. There's something about them. This is kind of a teenage movie about kind of in the near future apocalyptic kind of, or dystopian kind of society. It's interesting. Reanimator, a classic. Jeffrey Combs, Stuart Gordon. Anything Stuart Gordon does, I'm going to check out. Reanimator is great. Everyone's seen it. Blood Rage. I want to say this is a Thanksgiving slasher, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't seen it. My apologies. Chill Factor, another one. Haven't seen, but the cover art sold me. I'll check it out. All right, so this is a little rough for me because I feel like a lot of this Arrow section, I haven't watched a lot of these. Trapped Alive, another one I haven't watched. I just, I'm a sucker for a cover. I'll see a release. I'll look at the trailer, and if it looks halfway decent, I'll snag it up. The Mutilator. I've heard a lot about this. I've never watched it. I need to. This will get watched soon. It's been on my list for a while. A classic, of course. I've seen Hellraiser. Clive Barker. Really cool. Cool effects. I actually liked the Hulu Hellraiser reboot, or another installment came out. Was it last year? I liked it. I thought it was good. The Vagrant. This one is really cool. It's always nice too when you order on Amazon and get the slipcover. Doesn't always happen like that. This is not really horror. It's more psychological thriller, but it's also kind of a dark comedy. I love Bill Paxton. He plays the lead role in this. He buys a new house, or well, a new to him house, and he's kind of tormented by this crazy homeless guy. And it's kind of like, is he losing his mind, or is this really happening? One of those. It's good. I liked it. Beyond the Door. I heard it's an Exorcist ripoff. I want to say it's Italian. The Exorcist, I think, is the scariest movie of all time, and I'm curious to watch a ripoff. So, Society. Now, I'm gonna maybe get this wrong. This is a really weird movie. I know Brian Usna, who typically produces Stuart Gordon's movies. I know Brian Usna is involved in this. So I don't know that this is a Stuart Gordon movie. Oh yeah, there it says. Oh, it's Brian Usna directed this. And the guy who did the effects, what's his name? Is it on here? He's really well known. He's got a funny name. I can't think of it right now. Vamp, very 80s horror movie. It's very stylized. I like it. It's about vampires. Legend. It's fantasy. It's not horror. Ridley Scott movie really stands out in Ridley Scott's kind of filmography. He hasn't done anything like this before or since. Interesting thing about this, if you've only seen the U.S. release, and this is kind of why I got it, it's got the U.S. theatrical cut and the director's cut. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if the director's cut is the same as, maybe I got this by mistake. The UK release is way better. I think it has a different soundtrack. I could be getting that confused with Blade Runner. But it's sequentially or chronologically, it's very different, and I really like it. Enjoyed the UK version a lot more. Just a little tip for you. Evil Ed. I want to say this is an Australian one. I'm fairly sure it's a foreign film. I want to say it's Australian. So it's quirky and odd. I have not finished this. I've watched the first half of it. Yeah. Okay, these aren't... Oh, so now I'm getting into Umbrella, which I don't have a lot of. And two of the umbrellas are the Death Wish 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I just have the generic original Death Wish on Blu-ray. This is just a Paramount Blu-ray. So I wanted them together. I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason, really. Death Wish movies, the first one's serious, and then it gets real campy. And I really like the campy ones. I think 3 specifically. Dark Age, Australian killer crocodile movie. It's good. It's actually, I'm a big fan of the movie Wolf Creek. The main character in this, I believe, is the bad guy in Wolf Creek. It's cool. It's not my favorite, but I liked it enough to keep around. Speaking of Australian movies, Razorback, Killer Boar, which is a silly premise, but this movie is so cool. Super surreal, dreamlike atmosphere to it. In the outback, strange characters like these two guys. And, they put a lot of work into this giant, it's like the mechanical boar, kind of like in Jaws, like they really like put some effort into making this killer boar film. It's cool. It's odd. Again, stuff like that just doesn't get made anymore. Here we go. These are amazing. We talked about trailer compilations a little bit earlier, those Garage House Pictures ones, but these Drive-In Delirium ones are amazing. These are so fun to put on in the background. It's just fun. It's just little snippets of trailers back in the day where there's so much nostalgia surrounding it, and it's just fun. Oddball stuff just popping on screen. They really did a good job of curating the trailers that they include on this. Also, it's fun because you become aware of movies you weren't previously, or at least I have. So I'll look up from whatever I'm doing. I'll be like, oh, that looks cool, and then I'll go track down the movie. You know. Okay, so transitioning from Umbrella to Synapse, I only have a handful of these. Mosquito, low budget. I think they shot this in Michigan, if I remember right. His name is escaping me, but the guy who played Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre has a role in this. This is kind of a cult film. It's fun. Demons. This is such a cool movie. It's Italian, so it's strange. And they try to, shoot it like it's an American movie, but it's whatever's lost in translation really makes for a interesting experience when you watch these Italian movies. Italian movies I'm into, but they're not some people just love them, and I like their quirkiness, and oftentimes they have really good special effects, so I really like that, but they're always weird. Demons 2, also a good one. A couple more Synapse films here. Frankenhooker, Frank Henenlotter, which I believe is the guy who did Basket Case. Have not seen this yet. Looks fun. I will definitely check it out sometime. Popcorn. This was one I wasn't aware of, and love thinking back just a few movies ago, Demons. I love a movie theater as a backdrop to a horror film, and that's what this is. Dee Wallace also is in this. I love Dee Wallace playing the mom as per usual. Suspiria. This is a classic. Dario Argento. The first 15 minutes of this movie, I think, is some of the most amazing filmmaking or cinematography. I have never finished watching this movie, I'm sorry to say. But I love the first 15 minutes of this movie. The music, the lighting, the shots. So good. Speaking of so good, Intruder. Grocery store horror. I love this. I love the grocery store as a horror movie setting. Sam Raimi and is it Ted, his brother? Ted Raimi have small roles in this. This is really fun. Oh, I switched here. What is this? Oh, this is Synapse. It's just the case is different. Living Dead at Manchester Morgue. Zombie movie. Pretty classic. Also Italian, I believe. Have not yet seen this. Or that I remember. I've probably seen it a long time ago and I just don't. I'm confusing it with some other movie. Getting into the Vinegar Syndrome. I don't have a ton of these either. Body Melt. Australian. Off the wall. Horror. Body horror movie. Super fun. Super weird. I like it. That's one of the Synapse movies I've seen. That's one of my favorites. Dolly Dearest, Killer Doll film, Child's Play ripoff. Look at her. Have not yet watched this. Shame on me, I know. Don't Panic. This one's pretty famous. I know Red Letter Media talked about this. The kid's pajamas, or the kid in quotation marks. He's like a teenager. His dinosaur PJs. This is by, I believe, a Mexican director. And this one is by the same guy, Grave Robbers. Now, well, that's weird. I swear I put this in to watch, and it didn't have English subtitles, or English language track. But now I'm noticing it's sealed still, so what am I confusing this with? I've never seen this. Demon Wind, super cool cover art. The movie itself, not that cool. Amityville, Dollhouse. It's fun. It's silly. Thinking back on it, it's 90s in my mind. It's fun, schlock. The Cellar and the cover art is slipped up here. I haven't seen this one. Don't know anything about it. I like, a creature feature. Monster living in your basement. I can get into that. Vineyard. Another one I haven't seen. Need to watch it. The trailer looked interesting. Tammy and the T-Rex. This isn't horror. This is just a weirdo movie that I've heard about. And I think the Red Letter Media guys did this one as well. Paul Walker, Denise Richards. There's some interesting thing about this. Like, it was directed as a horror movie, but then got re-edited as like a romantic comedy or something. Correct me. Tell me in the comments. I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm talking about. Raw Force. This one is awesome. You got a little bit of everything in this movie, and the artwork is so amazing. Okay, was it Grave Robbers? Okay, I was confusing that with Cemetery of Terror. Cemetery of Terror is the one I was thinking about that was also directed by the Don't Panic guy, I think. In this one, there was no English language track, which annoyed me because I was tired and I didn't feel like reading subtitles. Battle for the Lost Planet. This also has Mutant War on it. So a little double feature here. So this is more sci-fi. Haven't watched either of those. Hell Comes to Frogtown, Rowdy Roddy Piper. Instead of Planet of the Apes, it's Planet of the Frogs. Super fun. Weird. A good time. Here's a couple 4Ks. A couple 3. Scanner Cop. Loosely related, I guess, in spirit to Scanners. But, legally not related in any way. This is a great movie. Really good. What did I say? I said Body Melt was my favorite. Vinegar Syndrome I have. It's probably Scanner Cop or Scanner Cop 2. These are both really good. Good special effects. The acting is good, surprisingly. The cinematography is good. I really like those. Ticks on 4K. This is a fun one. I think this is early 90s. I know Seth Green's in it, so it's probably early 90s. Killer Ticks. Dead and Buried. Oh, we're into Blue Underground now. I don't know anything about this. I watched the trailer. It looked good. I snagged it. It was free. Inferno, Dario Argento. This is part of is it the Three Sisters trilogy? I really like this movie. It's not really scary or anything. Like, Suspiria creeps me out for sure. Inferno isn't really that... It's not scary, but it's very atmospheric, very dreamlike. The Prowler. More Blue Underground. Tom Savini, special effects, slasher movie from the 80s. Have not seen this. If I have seen it, it's been a long time. This one's not horror. It's a siege movie from the maybe late 70s, early 80s. I want to say I got it because it's William Lustig, so that's one reason. And is Robert Forster in this? Oh, Joe Spinell's in this. Haven't seen it yet. Zombie, Lucio Fulci. This is a pretty iconic movie. There's the famous shark versus zombie scene. Fulci, you know, his movies are weird, but they're good for some reason. There's something about them. Again, not horror. Post-apocalyptic collection. I think I've seen the first two. 1990, The Bronx Warriors and Escape the Bronx. I don't believe I've seen The New Barbarians. Cool collection. Definitely worth having. These are not in order. I guess I liked the way the boxes looked here. Maniac Cop 2 I got on 4K for some reason. For some reason I didn't get Maniac Cop 3 on 4K. Have I seen... Yes, I've seen 2. I like it. I like the first one as well. I think I have not yet seen Maniac Cop 3. Just goofy movies. Fun to watch. Not to take seriously. More Lucio Fulci. Oh, now we've moved out of Blue Underground. Now we're into Grindhouse Releasing. I only have 2 of these. The Beyond is pretty famous. It's not my favorite, but I had it on DVD. I ripped it and put it on my Plex server and sold it, and thinking I'd find it again if I wanted to check it out. I never came across it, so I decided just to order the Grindhouse Releasing Blu-ray. It's a zombie movie, if you don't know. I think it's part of the Gates of Hell trilogy by Fulci. And then Pieces. This is a foreign movie. I want to say it's Italian, maybe Spanish. It's a slasher. It's fun. I enjoyed watching it. Cool release, too. It comes with the soundtrack, I think. Let me see if I can pull it out without being too annoying. Yeah, here's the CD soundtrack. I need to throw that on the Plex server. I'm sure it's great. I have a few Kino Lorber movies here. Rawhead Rex. This is Clive Barker. Yeah. It's a creature feature. It's okay. Not my favorite. Without Warning. This is a sci-fi. I had heard people say this is the Predator, essentially. And I disagree. I just watched this. It was slow, pretty boring. It could have been really cool, but it just didn't deliver. I'm probably going to get rid of this movie. Worth checking out. I don't want to badmouth it too much, but it wasn't my favorite thing for sure. Cannibal Apocalypse, John Saxon. I need to watch this. Haven't watched it yet. Couldn't even tell you if it is actually... it's probably horror. Leviathan. This is a great one. Daniel Stern. What's RoboCop's name? Peter Weller. Good cast. Underwater sci-fi horror. They kind of, if I remember right, they get some sort of sea creature attacks them, and then they start morphing into some sort of sea creature hybrid. The Boogans. always heard about this, have not yet watched it. And now we are into Vestron Video. These are cool. I get irritated that Return of the Living Dead 3 does not have the slip and all the rest do. But what can you do? Chopping Mall, classic 80s, great setting for a horror movie in a shopping mall in the 80s, which was like, you know, pretty iconic. Blood Diner, haven't watched this one yet. Heard it's quirky, fun. I think it's a female director. Double feature, Waxwork and Waxwork 2. Waxwork was a classic to me as a kid. I've seen it a million times. I don't think I've seen Waxwork 2 yet. Waxwork, though, the werewolf vignette in that is my favorite. Cool looking werewolf with the wisps of hair off his ears. I just always remember that. Used to always try to draw it. Return of the Living Dead Part 3. I think Stuart Gordon. No, Brian Usna again. So it's got great effects, and this was surprisingly good. I liked it. And here we were talking about The Gate 2 before. Here's The Gate. This is an iconic 80s horror movie. Young Stephen Dorff. Great creature effects. Great premise. This is a must-have in my opinion. The Wishmaster Collection. I think this is, yeah, it's 4 movies. I have not seen these. I'd never even heard of, well, maybe I'd heard of them, but was not super familiar. I've heard the first 2 are good. Maybe the others not so much. Slaughter High. Great cover art. And a great slasher. I think, is it a holiday slasher? It's some holiday. April Fool's Day slasher, maybe? Good kills. Good movie to check out. Beyond Reanimator, follow-up to Reanimator. I think then there's also Bride of Reanimator. Is this Stuart Gordon? Probably is. Shivers, David Cronenberg, some body horror. Have I seen this? I've seen Rabid, I know. And Videodrome, of course. I don't know if I've seen Shivers yet. Sundown. This is one I never heard of. I just noticed Vestron put it out. It's a vampire movie. It's got a decent cast, too. Bruce Campbell's in it. And David Carradine. It was not great. Another one I'd never heard of, Patrick Swayze, Steel Dawn. I have a feeling this is an apocalypse movie. It's not horror. I have not yet watched this. The Silent Night, Deadly Night Collection. That's weird. 1 and 2 aren't on here. Those are the only ones I've seen. I've, of course, seen 1 and 2. 2 being pretty infamous. Garbage Day. Everyone knows that. Didn't even know 3, 4, and 5 existed. So I grabbed these. I know there's one of these. It must be 5, the toy maker. A guy builds evil toys. The Dentist Collection, Dentist 1 and Dentist 2. I've watched, I hadn't heard of these. And I've watched the first one. It's good. Kind of a psychological thriller, kind of tongue-in-cheek. It's supposed to be funny, I think. Falling down if it happened to a dentist. And then this is, what are these? MVDs. Jack Frost. Intentionally silly snowman slasher film. I like this. It's low budget, but it hits all the right notes for me. We talked about Witch Board. Now we have Witch Trap. I don't know anything about this and haven't seen it yet. I don't know. Cutting Class. Brad Pitt's first on-screen appearance, I believe. A school slasher. I've not yet watched. The House on Sorority Row. I assume another slasher, but again, haven't watched it. I know I'm the worst. This is not horror. LA Wars. This is a 80s action schlock. I don't know why I got this. I don't think I'd be into it. Pretty sure the Red Letter Media guys did this in Best of the Worst, and it's not good and not that entertaining. Not bad in an entertaining way, I don't think. Ghoulies 2, much more Ghoulies than you get in the first one. This is a good one. I think there's also a third Ghoulies. Something silly like Ghoulies Go to College, something like that. And then this one was one that was new to me, Japanese horror, Evil Dead Trap. It's kind of like a spiritual predecessor to Evil Dead. It's different. It doesn't take place in a cabin or anything, but it's cool. I like this. And now we have 2 Severin films. Burial Ground, great cover art. Who did this? This is a zombie movie, obviously. Is this Italian? I don't know. Yeah. Skinner, a slasher movie from the 80s, I believe starring Ted Raimi. And then let's see. Okay, now there's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason. I got a couple A24s, and then Halloween. So Hereditary. Oh man, this is such a disturbing movie. Toni Collette is amazing in this. The whole cast is amazing. It's a disturbing movie, and hard to watch, but worth a watch for sure. Green Room. This isn't really horror, more of a kind of revenge movie or siege movie. Patrick Stewart playing a super interesting role in this. Some brutal gore in this movie. Kind of about a punk band walking into a situation and having to fight their way out. All right, here we go. Halloween. This is an Anchor Bay release, actually. Classic John Carpenter. And then John Carpenter also, we're bumping into Scream Factory again. I think John Carpenter did Halloween 2 as well. This is a decent follow-up. John Carpenter definitely did not do Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, but this is no Michael Myers in this one. What's that guy's name? Tom something or other. Tom Atkins. It's a cool movie. Exploding children's Halloween masks. And then what is this? Oh, this is Halloween 4. Curse of Michael Myers. Have I seen this? I don't think I've seen... I think I've just seen the first 3. And then the Chucky Child's Play 7-movie collection. Chucky in there. I've seen the first 3, and I like all of them. The first one is pretty classic. Second one's a lot of fun. Third one's pretty cool too. I need to see the rest of these. And we'll get to them eventually. Subspecies. I've only ever seen the first one. This is a full moon. Vampire Victorian era. Is that what I know? Like Gothic. That's what I want to say. Gothic era. I don't know. It's okay. Not horror. Another full moon. Doll Man. This is sci-fi, but this is great. Trancers 2 is also a good one. Stars the same guy, Tim Thomerson. Really cool movie. Pet Sematary. Classic. This creeps me out. This is, especially as a kid, this was a scary movie. Zelda creeped me out. Gage, Zombie Gage. Directed by a female, Mary Lambert, I think. It's a good one. one of my favorites in the sense, not that I've watched it the most, but it scares me the most. The Exorcist. This was a cool early special edition Blu-ray release. I want to say this was the first time we all saw the spider walk scene. And, you know, it was pretty polarizing for people. Some people thought it was really cool. Others are so attached to this movie in its original form that they didn't like it. I think if that spider walk scene did exist in the original cut, it would have been just part of the masterpiece and no one would have thought twice about it. But anyways, oh, here we go again. The Thing on 4K. Had to do it. I have not watched it on 4K yet. Looking forward to doing that. This, so this is Michelle, what's his name? He did Stage Fright. This is Cemetery Man, and then sequentially, I think The Church came after Stage Fright. This is Cemetery Man. I had to get the Shameless release, Region B, but it just got a release on, was it Scream Factory? Synapse? One of those. This is a really great movie and was really hard to come by for a long, long time. Super dreamlike. Really interesting movie. The Church by the same director, Michelle Suave. That's what it is. Is it right? Am I right? That's who did this as well? Yeah. The Church. This is a cool one. Gothic horror. I really like this. I like all his stuff, to be honest. Grindhouse. I loved this movie. I saw it in the theater with the interlude, with the trailers. Thanksgiving just got made all these years later. I remember this Blu-ray is buggy. The menu didn't work. But that was a long time ago. Maybe it works fine now. Maybe it was a glitch with my Blu-ray player at the time. But I remember trying to watch special features and being super bummed out by that. Extro. This is a really interesting sci-fi, and I'll say horror because it is creepy. Definitely creepy. You need to see this. This is something else. I've talked a lot about in this Stuart Gordon. Of course, he passed away. And this was a movie he was working on or planning to do. And he died before it came to fruition. It's cool. There's definitely some cool scenes. Heather Graham is amazing and beautiful. Barbara Crampton's in this. I watched it. I thought it was okay. I probably won't watch it again in too much of a hurry. Night of the Creeps, Tom Atkins, zombie movie, kind of in the same vein. There's a little alien guy, kind of a sci-fi as well. Kind of in the same vein of Slither that we talked about way back, I don't know, probably 40 minutes ago at this point. Night of the Creeps is great. Event Horizon. This gets crapped on a lot, but I think this is such a good, creepy space horror film. Sam Neill, Lawrence Fishburne, good cast, super, super creepy in my opinion. I really like this movie still to this day. I don't care what anyone says. A werewolf classic, probably my second favorite after The Howling. American Werewolf in London. Rick Baker on Creature Effects. The most amazing werewolf transformation scene is on this. I'll give American Werewolf in London that credit. The one in The Howling is great too, though. Here's a little Walmart bargain bin 3-pack. Got it for The Cabin in the Woods. It's a really fun twist on horror movies. A little, what's the word? Meta. Sinister, is that the one with Matisyahu in it? And The Possession. I've seen both of these, but it's been a while. and they're pretty, neither of them are that standout, and I kind of confuse the two. One of them's about a box, or trinket box that's possessed, and Matisyahu gets involved, the reggae artist. Night of the Demons 2. This I didn't know existed for a long time. This is not nearly as good as Night of the Demons, but still cool and quirky. Worth watching. Here's another one I didn't know existed until recently. Had to get, this is like a Spanish release of Fright Night Part 2. It's really, it's good. It's a continuation of the first one. It's not as good as the first one, but I liked it. It's got a lot of the same characters, the TV host, vampire hunter guy. It's cool. Scalps, this one I haven't watched yet. I got it strictly based off the cover art, which is amazing. I don't know anything about it. It's probably, takes place solely in the woods and is super low budget, but it could be cool. I'll check it out. Who released this? I don't know. Psycho Gorman, PG. Loved this movie. Loved the creators were obviously 80s horror movie fans, and they did great effects in this, but they made it funny. They added a lot of humor. It's basically a comedy. This movie's great, super entertaining. And now we have the documentaries. Here's In Search of Darkness Part 1. This is like a 4-hour documentary specifically on 80s horror movies. It's amazing. I love watching these. I love falling asleep to this. Can't recommend it enough. And then it was so popular, they did a part 2. So another 4+ hours of slightly more obscure or less well-known 80s horror movies. And guess what? They did a part 3. Same thing. They had to dig a little deeper. And then they did one, In Search of Tomorrow, which is 80s sci-fi. Also great. Really love that. Okay, we're basically to the end here. So I'm just going to scan through because there's just a few horror movies left here. Evil Dead Rise. I really like this. Another installment in the Evil Dead series, although it's not by Sam Raimi. This was really good. I saw this in the theater, and I loved it. Cat's Eye, a Stephen King horror anthology. This is good. Drew Barrymore. The wraparound story, of course, is kind of what I remember the most, with the goblin that lives in the little girl's room. Poltergeist, this is a classic. This is a very, it's kind of the horror movie version of A Tribe Called Quest. If you're trying to get someone into hip-hop, you introduce them to A Tribe Called Quest because it's very digestible. That's Poltergeist. It's scary. There's definitely scary moments in this, but it's also has Steven Spielberg's fingerprints all over it, and it's very relatable. The family, you like them, and then experience the trauma with them. The Candyman remake or reboot. I thought this was good. I like the original Candyman. I thought this was an interesting twist. It didn't blow me away or anything, but I liked it. The Pet Sematary remake. This was pretty forgettable, if I'm being honest. It wasn't bad, but the first one was, I hold in pretty high esteem, and this one didn't really touch it. If it was called something else, I'd probably feel differently. Dr. Sleep, a Stephen King adaptation, the sequel to The Shining. This is such a good movie. Essentially kind of a vampire movie, I guess. This is so good, and it's Mike Flanagan, who is amazing. Everything he does is pretty solid. I really, really like this movie. I was blown away by it. So pleasantly surprised by it as a newish horror release. It's a great one. Phantasm, also a classic. The Tall Man, The Sphere, great movie. And this is also a newer one. The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Vampires on a ship. Really cool idea. Not bad. Not great, but not bad. The Suspiria remake. This is really creepy. It's a little long in my opinion, but very, very creepy, very stylized. Great acting. Definitely worth a watch. I think this is still free on Amazon Prime if you want to check it out. Krampus, holiday horror by Michael Dougherty, the guy who did Trick or Treat. Love it. 80s throwback, humor in it, great effects, great story, great atmosphere. The Stand, the miniseries remake. I know there was a 90s version of it. Was a made-for-TV miniseries, and it's not great. But this is really good. Definitely check this out. Not a lot of people... I kind of had forgot this came out. Something sparked my mind, like, oh yeah, didn't they remake The Stand or one of those? And I tracked this down. It's really good. Alien... Not really horror, but I got the one with the comic book and the quadrilogy here. Love. I even love Alien Resurrection. A lot of people hate on it. I think it's cool. Sunshine. I'll touch on this one. This is space horror. Danny Boyle, director of 28 Days Later. This is so good, so underrated. I love this movie. And the commentaries on here, they had an advisor on set, like an astrophysicist or something that advised them on how things work in space and stuff. Listen to the commentary track with him. It's super interesting. Piranha, this is the remake, I think. Yeah. This was okay. It's fun. Black Phone. I just found this at a thrift store recently. This was good. Definitely dark story elements. I thought it was good. Not one I need to watch again, at least anytime soon, but definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. What else do we have here? A Quiet Place on 4K. This was a thrift store find, so it's kind of random. This is a good movie. I liked it. Horror. Do we have Shogun Assassin? I'll just touch on ever so briefly. It's not horror, but it's a gore fest. Based off a Japanese series called Lone Wolf and Cub. And it kind of had some sort of cult popularity, so they recut the series as a movie called Shogun Assassin. This is amazing. Check it out if you haven't already. Can I get it in there? And then I guess this is kind of horror as well. Double feature, Mind Warp and Brain Scan. More Edward Furlong back in the day. I don't know much about Mind Warp. It's got Bruce Campbell in it. It's good enough for me. And then, just for fun, we got a couple of horror VHS here. Night of the Scarecrow. Extro 2. Had no idea this existed. Prom Night 2. Great cover art here. I should show the Night of the Scarecrow. It's got good cover art too. Yeah. And then finally, just to bring it all together, there you go. There's Scanners. There's my dumb little joke in the beginning. Oh man, that was a long one. So anybody that's watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. I appreciate you. Like I said, I'm a new YouTube channel. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'm just trying to make content that I like and hopefully others will find and like as well. I'll link in the description. I have a video about how I got my all the stuff I showed for free. Actually, I got paid to acquire them. I'm not lying about that. Check out the video. I also have a video about how to digitize your collection and put it on a media server like I use Plex. You can use, there's a number of them. Anyways, thanks again. Thank you so much for watching. You are a legend. I'll catch you in the next one.